Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast.
It's Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on Jam Session. The moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast star, the sexy Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
I would be the non-sexy one, Matt McLaren. And this is the Jam Session Podcast version 7, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled.
If not entertained.
And I got to tell you, before we get into whatever the crap that was that we saw tonight, as we are recording this almost at midnight after the Cowboys' Monday night blowout loss to the Cardinals. Here's your disclaimer, okay? There's going to be some curse words in this episode. I can tell you that. And if you were able to watch that game tonight and you never had a cuss word in your mind, then you are just a different person than me, and that's fine. But again, this is an explicit podcast at times. This is a completely different world, a totally different, more authentic, more realistic realm than radio is, which is one of the reasons why we love it. It's not gratuitous. I'm not trying to say the F word as many times as I can. As a matter of fact, in our last podcast, we said it 3 times in 90 minutes, and a few people, it's so vulgar. Do you not watch rated R movies? Have you never seen HBO? I would view it like that. If you watch cable television, this is cable radio. This is rated R radio, so to speak. Sometimes PG-13, but sometimes after a night like tonight, you're going to have to drop a few. So that's your warning. And look, I sympathize. A guy sent me a message about the last podcast that he was making snacks for his kids in the kitchen listening to it when I dropped a couple of F-bombs. I get it. But again, every one of these episodes has an E next to it when you download it. That E stands for explicit, much like explicit music that you listen to. So yes, I would not encourage you to listen to this with your children. I wouldn't listen to it with my son. But we're going to be real with you, man, because that's what we're about. We want this authentic platform. So I want to get that out of the way before this gets going. And if that's too much for you, I understand. That's fine. We're still friends. Cool. But you need to prepare yourself because you may hear 2 or 3 or 5 during the course of 2 hours, which is not gratuitous. But we do need to get going because the Cowboys got their ass absolutely kicked tonight. 38-10. I don't even know what to make of this. This was as ugly a game as it gets for the Dallas Cowboys to me.
Well, see, man, I mean, you don't know what to make of it. I know exactly what to make of it. I wrote this column 2 weeks ago because that's what I do, man. And I saw it tonight, and I wasn't I tell you what my emotion was. See, your emotion feels to me like anger.
It was at first. I was not happy at all.
And for me, it's much more like, it's just, you know what, man? I tell y'all all the time, especially if you listen to Jam Session on the radio before we moved over to this platform. I'm the pragmatic sort. It just is what it is to me in a lot of cases. It's not good or bad. It's not half full. It's not half empty. It's just what it is. And to me, man, and I tweeted this out, at some point, you are what you are. This is a bad team. Y'all going to have to deal with it. Y'all, meaning the fan base, y'all just going to have to deal with it. Top 10 pick is on the way. So when Jerry gets on the radio tomorrow and says, hey, we're close, we just need it, it's like whatever, man. When Steven says, hey, we're not that far away, it's like, it's whatever, man. When Mike McCarthy gets up there and, well, we've got to do, it's whatever, man. After 6 weeks of watching this poop, I mean, y'all realize they're 2 miracles away.
It's true.
From 0-6.
I thought about that tonight. I was like, even if they split the miracles, they should be 1-5. They really should be. They should be 1-5.
And the reality is they should really be 0-6. Like, they haven't played a good, clean game yet. And that's with Dak. And so I was telling y'all all this week, like, they ain't been winning with Dak, who's playing at a super high level. I don't know how they're going to win with Andy Dalton. And I didn't want to say nothing because, I wasn't interested in getting cussed out by strangers. But I think even you did this. And so I'm sorry.
I can find a way.
All my friends, I think Newey Scruggs may have done it. Even if you picked them to lose, and you picked them to, I think you picked them to lose.
I did. I picked them to lose.
35. But for them to score in the 30s, I was like, how do y'all think they're going to score in the 30s with this ragtag offensive line and this backup quarterback?
Hope, faith, and optimism, which I will say this, and this is why I'm pissed. I am pissed. And part of the reason why I'm pissed is because watching the game tonight, I stopped caring. And that pisses me off about this team.
Why did you stop caring?
Because it got to a point, honestly, and it happens every once in a blue moon the way that they play. If we weren't doing a podcast and we weren't on the radio, I would have turned the game off and not watched the end because I stopped caring about what was happening. As a matter of fact, when we get to secret audio of a Cowboys homer, there's hardly, I don't know if there is a fourth quarter cut. Because at the end of the game, I just had no emotion. I didn't care they scored a touchdown at the end. Who gives a shit? I didn't care that the Cardinals scored. Oh, okay, well, instead of 31, it's 38. Now, who cares? The game was over so early in this one that it really sucked the emotion out of it for me, and that sucks.
I think so. It's because, and again, I think the reason you feel that way is because, one, you had high expectations for this season, and two, you just didn't picture them to be. See, there's one thing to lose, and there's another thing just look so bad doing it. I mean, it's like if your kid flunks a test and they flunk it with a 59, you go, well, clearly you did poorly, but perhaps if we study harder, you can get those extra points and you can get there. But when your kid brings home like a 27, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Did you not study? Did you fall asleep? What did you do? And I think that's the problem. I think some of y'all have been caught by surprise by just how bad.
It's true.
And I think it's not just bad, man. I mean, if you're keeping it real, this feels hopeless. Like
it is hopeless.
You tell me how it's going to turn around. Like, see, Mike McCarthy and those cats, they get upset when you say that. But like,
where's the hope, Mike?
That's what I'm saying.
Who's magically walking in off the damn street to save your ass? No one.
See, I always like to say it like, okay, where's the tangible evidence that you can turn this around? Because now, and I mean, I knew they were hosed in the first quarter, man. Like, they had a shot when the game started. The defense played pretty well in the first quarter. Zach Martin goes out. You're hosed.
You're screwed. You had no prayer.
I mean, you guys have to remember, man. They're playing with Brandon Knight, open training camp, I believe, as the 5th or 6th tackle on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Because Terrence Steele was either the 5th or 6th tackle.
And somehow he made the team.
And they're both starting.
Yeah.
Okay? Those guys were 5th or 6th, and they're both starting. Connor McGovern, he's so bad he can't beat out Connor Williams.
Those were his first snaps of his career tonight, right?
Right. And, Biotish had potential, so, okay, he's fourth.
He's still a rookie,
But he's still a rookie, and he's a 4th-round pick. Connor Williams is the epitome of just a guy. And this is who you're asking to move the ball. Like, I got to tell you, man, Louis Riddick, one of my favorite guys on Monday Night Football. I don't like Brian Griese because he went to Michigan.
Why? Because everything he says is blatantly obvious? God.
Well, not just that, but tonight it was all about they got to get the ball to the outside weapons, and the weapons they got to take. Like, what are y'all doing, man? They can't protect. Now, we can sit up here and make jokes about how the Cowboys feel like they got to take, draft capital and get number 1 picks at every offensive line spot. But, hey, man, if you can't block them, it doesn't matter that you have CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup back there. Andy Dalton was under siege tonight. There's nothing he could do, man. He wasn't good, but there was nothing he could do tonight.
You said this when we were talking about what we were going to get to on the podcast. And look, we're glad you guys are listening. This is going to be a fun one as we go through everything from this game, what this means for the season. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can hit us up on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. But one of the things that you brought up was and this is something that I'm trying to understand how to accept. It's time for everybody to accept this is a bad team.
Yeah.
This is a team that does what bad teams do because they're a bad team.
Right.
When you go through the litany, and you kind of pointed it out with the offensive line and the injuries that you're talking about, and you look at Brandon Knight, who I think tonight had his 5th career start.
And he looked like it tonight. He's been holding up pretty good, but he got worked tonight.
And Terrence Steele is on 6. Tyler Biotish is at, 2 or 3 career starts. Connor Williams, as you explained. And then Connor McGovern, his first career snaps tonight.
That's I hadn't really thought about that, but that youth on that offensive line, they haven't even played.
And these, again, Biotish was a 4th-round draft pick. The 2 dudes on your tackle, they were undrafted. I think everybody was like, wait, Terrence Steele made the team?
Yeah.
And now he's your starting tackle as an undrafted rookie free agent.
And he going to be starting.
So you look at that, and then they do the one thing that they continually do, and this is what bad teams do. They turn the ball over at an unbelievably horrid rate. As a matter of fact, they are now, fortunately, before the game started, Minnesota and Philadelphia had passed them this weekend in turnovers, and the Cowboys like, ha, we see your 2 and raise you 4. 4 turnovers tonight. They now have 15 turnovers in 6 games. The defense has 3 takeaways in 6 games. They are minus 12 in the turnover margin. The next worst teams are Philadelphia and Minnesota at minus 7.
Woo! That's not the kind of lead you want, bro. And that's part of the problem, man. And I always like to go back to this because it's important. How did Mike McCarthy say they wanted to play the game? Start fast, grab a lead, turn the pass rushers loose, hope we can put some quarterbacks under duress, make them make mistakes. That's how we're built to win this year. And so we come out, and every first quarter, they screw up, or they make mistakes, or they make turnovers. And so what? I mean, dude. Now I haven't gone back and looked at this. Okay, maybe I asked one of the Cowboys PR guys to do this work for me. But okay, check this out, Matt. Against Atlanta, down 20. Okay, against Seattle, down 15. Against Cleveland, down 27. Against the raggedy Rudy Poot New York Giants, down 14. Against this team, the Arizona Cardinals, who are okay, but they ain't special.
Right.
They ain't special. They good, but they ain't special. Matter of fact, they ain't good. They all right. They solid. They all right, but they ain't special. You down 28 points. 5 consecutive games where you've been down at least 14 points. How about this, man? They've given up 20-point quarters in 3 games. 20-point quarters are not like some common thing in the NFL.
Incredible.
I mean, if you Ohio State or you're Clemson or you're Oklahoma or, you're Alabama, 20-point quarters, that happen all the time for us. That don't happen all the time in the NFL.
Again, they do everything that bad teams do. They turn the ball over. They don't get sacks. They don't take the ball away. They don't make plays. They don't stop the other team from getting big plays. And then in return, they don't make the big plays on offense. They commit penalties in horrible, horrible situations to either extend drives for the opposition or kill their own drives. And then tonight we saw and some of this is Dalton, some of this I think is the malaise that settled into this team at one point. They dropped passes that you got to make plays for your quarterback.
Oh, dude, I think, and this, to me, I understand what happens, having covered them for 25 years, National Football League. That's just a lack of focus, lack of concentration that happens when you're getting your butt kicked because you lose focus. Because you're like, it's hard to say, like, why you lose focus, but you're not locked in. And, that's why the mistakes compound each other. And then frustration starts, and you start thinking about the last play, not the current play, or you see the ball and you say, let me make sure. This happened to me one time playing soccer. Dude took a shot from damn near midfield. I never forget this. And I went out and I said, should I catch it? Should I punch it? Should I move it? And I did nothing, and the thing went right through my hands I'm not even joking, dude, from a goal from like damn near midfield.
That's pretty awesome.
And at the end, I said, my initial thought was this is the coach's fault. And you said, why do you mean this is the coach's fault? Because the coach all week had said, you can just punch the ball over the crossbar. Just punch it. And I was used to catching it because I had good hands. And so I said, I should punch it. I should catch it. And so I did nothing because I just lost focus instead of focusing on the ball. So I'm sure Michael Gallup was like, man, we need this touchdown. I need to. And while he's thinking, now, normally he just catches it. He don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's easy.
And so I think all of that happens to guess what? Bad teams. They just do what bad teams do, man. I mean, Kyler Murray, he only completes 9 passes, but one of them went for 80 yards and one of them went for 60 yards.
And the unbelievable thing was, if he hits a couple of guys in the first quarter,
it's a blowout then.
Yeah, it would have been, regardless of the Cowboys turning the ball over, it's almost like those made up. Like, Kyler Murray tried to help him out a little bit. He was jazzed up. But they had dudes running free, just out in wide open spaces in the first quarter. Nobody anywhere near him that Murray just missed.
The other thing bad teams do, man, I mean, one, they commit turnovers and get behind by big deficits. They give up big plays like the Cowboys do. I got to tell you, man, bad teams don't get any help from the coaching staff.
None.
This coaching staff, to me, and again, y'all can tell me if I'm wrong. You tell me where Mike McCarthy. I'm not even blaming all of this on Mike McCarthy, but you tell me where he's been a difference maker. You tell me where Mike Nolan's been a difference maker.
Oh, I can tell you
where
because
John Fossil's been a difference maker.
The two that you just named, Mike Nolan's been a difference maker in making this defense way worse than it was. And John Fossil, who was supposed to come in here, is like, Bones Fossil, the special teams guru. Where the hell did that come from? You realize I don't know why I get fascinated by this, because I guess I thought with the return game or they do some different things, and I know the defense plays into this with Nolan too. They've now had 70 drives this year, and 1 out of 70 times have they started in opposition territory.
Again, we're talking about things that bad teams do.
Twice out of 70 times have they started on their own 40 or better. That's 68 out of 70 drives have started inside their own 40-yard line.
So I put out there on Twitter, man.
Team sucks.
Have y'all accepted that this is a bad team? Now, my man John Westmoreland, hey, we knew that even before that crap we all witnessed tonight. I'm not so sure about that. I think this is some revisionist history. But
we didn't think they were this bad. Come on. No, you didn't. Nobody thought Arizona beats this team. No. It was really 38-3. Arizona stopped playing, and Dallas somehow got a crappy, ridiculous, stupid touchdown that was great for fantasy purposes, I guess. But they lost this game. They got their ass kicked. They were never in it. They colossally, once again, and every week it's the same shit with McCarthy. When you listen to his Monday presser, or a Tuesday one this week, we're all this stuff, and we got to work. No, what are you doing? It's 6 weeks of the exact same stuff.
That's what troubles me. It looks the same every week.
What's the improvement in 6 weeks?
I haven't seen a lot, but I'm interested in this because you're saying that, and Tina Thomas. Yes, I accepted that after the Browns loss. Mark Bristow, he's a fan of the show. Week 1, bro. I mean, delinquent. I did after Atlanta. I don't remember all y'all saying that.
No, nobody did. Nobody did, because nobody thought it was this bad. And tonight the Dallas Cowboys looked like what, and I haven't watched the Jets play this year because I don't care about them at all. They looked like what I imagine it's like watching the Jets on a weekly basis.
Oh my God. Wow, you went there.
What I watched tonight, I watched a dude run 5 yards. There's not a guy within 5 yards of him catch an 80-yard touchdown pass. I watched multiple players miss tackles. I watched a defense at the end of the game not give a shit and allow a dude to break a 69-yard touchdown run.
Wow.
I watched a defense once again. You realize they gave up 261 yards rushing tonight?
Yes, I do, and 7.5 yards a carry. And even if you take away Kenyon Drake because you go, well, it was the end of the game, that's still 200, baby. 200 yards rushing.
So when you look at that, they're now second to last. Somehow Houston allows more a game. The Cowboys now allow 173 rushing yards a game. They have 3 what were we? Oh, my God, I'm pissed. All right, calm down. I know it's a podcast, but I'm pissed because the one thing we were told time and time again all off season waiting for this is how excited everybody was for this defense and Mike Nolan and Mike McCarthy because they were going to play it, man. They were going to be aggressive on defense. They were going to get pressure, and they were going to take the ball away. And you know what I see? The same mediocre shit that this franchise has been putting on the field for the past 25 years. And we're all the suckers. We're the dumb ones because we keep buying the gear and turning on the TV and supporting this team that doesn't care about us. So double birds to you, Cowboys.
Yeah, dude, they are, my mom used to say sometimes when I would screw up, normally in an academic situation, she said, boy, you lost with no idea where found is. And to me, that's your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it is.
And to me, I'm real interested to see this week.
Does somebody, do they have to fire somebody?
You see where I'm going? That's where I was really going.
To me, is it like, what have you seen from Mike Nolan that allows you to believe he's got any connection whatsoever? They quit on him tonight, man. They quit on Mike Nolan's defense.
If you're not going to fire McCarthy, and you're not 1 year into a 5-year deal or whatever, I could see making George Edwards the defensive coordinator and firing Mike Nolan. I could see firing John Fossil, although there's no linchpin to fire him tonight. They didn't do anything tonight to lead to his fire. But Mike Nolan, I might just be like, dog, this ain't working. You gave it a shot. George Edwards, put him back in the 4-3, run the defense the rest of the year, and Mike, you're going to have to figure out what to do. And frankly, that's probably the column I'm writing for the Dallas Morning News tomorrow.
You know what? And honestly, because I hear, and we saw it all over Twitter tonight. And you're welcome to find us on Twitter at McMattRadio at JJT_journalist. And people will say, well, the defense, if the offense doesn't have to turn the ball over, they did it twice. It's not like both times they gave Arizona the ball at the 10. Yeah, one time was inside. It was close. Fine, they score on it. The other one was at the Arizona 49. Why can't the defense make a play for this? Why can't the defense get pressure? Why can't the defense take the ball away? Why is it every time the offense makes a mistake, the defense is like, sucks for y'all. We can't stop them.
I mean, we knew they were bad.
I didn't know they were this bad, man. They are historically bad. Does everybody realize that? They showed the graphic at the end of the game that they have given up more points in the first 6 games of the season than any team in NFL history. They are giving up 36.3 points a game.
And that, to me, I sit here and think about it. The more I think about it, the more I got to write about Mike Nolan. I like his answers during the press conferences. They seem very authentic, much more than Mike McCarthy. But the bottom line is somebody has to – and see, this was national TV. Jerry's been embarrassed. It sets it up. I don't know what Mike Nolan's done to keep his job. Normally you don't fire people during the midseason. But, hey, they fired offensive line coach Paul Alexander. They fired Keith O'Quinn, the special teams coach, during the middle of the season last year. Mike Nolan ain't done nothing. His defense ain't done nothing. They quit on him.
They have shown absolutely no improvement. None. They've just gotten worse. They have shown nothing. All the things that you were told about this defense that the expectation was haven't happened. So what are they? Are you just waiting? You're waiting to see, Washington, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and then we got that bye. Maybe. What's going to change? Nothing's changing. This team is what it is, man. It's 6 weeks into the season, and nothing has changed.
They got 2 wins, and they look like they're probably going to get 3 or 4 more. Maybe.
So we continue here on the Jam Session podcast. Jean-Jacques Taylor, Matt McLaren. And before we continue ripping apart the Dallas Cowboys, one thing that I ripped apart was on, when did I grill mine? Saturday night. Saturday night, I had gone and picked up some of those wings we were telling you guys about. We picked up our first sponsor last week, and 2 flavors of wings that are available at Kroger stores across North Texas. They're fantastic. The Buffalo Blue Cheese and the Mango Habanero. Now, the wings aren't breaded like most other ones, so you really get only the meat and the flavor, and man, I am telling you, the flavor comes through perfectly. I put a picture of them up on our Instagram. You can find that at Jam Session Cast on Instagram. You can buy a pound, 2, 3, throw them on the grill, have them whenever you want, and I am telling you, they're fantastic. If you are a wings person, these wings are incredible. I would encourage you to find them at your local Kroger. You can find them in the section where you get your steaks and all that, the meat counter, whatever you want to do it. They'll weigh it for you, wrap it up. So get to join those mango habanero or buffalo blue cheese wings maybe this week, maybe this weekend. But support them because they're supporting us, and we appreciate that. But as we continue here, Cowboys, of course, they lose to the Arizona Cardinals. And, man, Andy Dalton tonight, it's funny because I had several people throughout the course of the game, I want Dak back. Man, this really goes to show you how good Dak is. And I'm just sitting here going, what did you think was going to happen?
I can't even take those people seriously.
Like, are you guys for real? Like, do you not? Dak is a good quarterback. We tried to. He's not great. He's not elite. He is a damn good quarterback. And Andy Dalton tonight, man, when he came in, there were times where it just felt like he is not what he once was. And I'm not sure what he once was.
You know, the way I described it, man, it looked to me like an aging boxer that can't let his hands go. The game seemed too fast for him at times. Now, maybe it was because they were bringing all that pressure, but it just seemed too fast for him.
Yeah.
Like he couldn't handle it. And that meant his throws were either they weren't on target a lot because they were either too far ahead, too far behind. I mean, he's just off, man. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah, and those of you that always like, well, Dak, he's not very accurate. No, you saw a not very accurate quarterback tonight in Andy Dalton. He couldn't even put it where the receivers could make play on the ball a lot of the times. The times, to be fair, he got pressured a lot. He got hit a bunch. But the problem is there are multiple times. I mean, we saw last week he came in and dropped that dime to Gallup. Tonight he had an opportunity to hit Gallup deep. Gallup had beaten Patrick Peterson. The play was there, and he overthrew him by 4 yards.
Yeah, so, this is, so, if you're in a fantasy league, 266 yards, a TD, 2 interceptions, it's not so bad.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
even in a fantasy league, that's bad.
He threw 54 passes, man.
Second most of his career, 54 passes.
Which, when you divide it by attempts, 4.9 yards per attempt.
That's horrible.
That's
really bad.
That's beyond horrible. For example, Dak probably averaged 8.5 yards an attempt. Okay? I mean, so Andy Dalton, I guess, now I will say this, man. Andy Dalton was not good. All right? I ain't breaking no news there. I don't think his teammates helped him at all. Because what did we say? What's the backup quarterback's number one job? Don't lose the game. I don't think if you're honest, you look at this game and you go, Andy Dalton, you lost this thing. I mean, I don't get that from here.
No, I don't think so.
He
was a part of the effort collectively that helped to lose this game.
Yeah, but, he's the backup quarterback. He's, he ain't going to be great on most games.
He did basically what we had talked about that we thought he would do. He turned the ball over a couple of times, and I get it. I was yelling and screaming with all of you. I didn't think that the first interception was an interception. I thought it was blatant pass interference where the dude basically tackled CeeDee Lamb. But you know what? That kind of made up for the pick six that he should have thrown that the linebacker was like, wait, I can score if I catch this. I don't want to catch. I mean, that hit that dude. Andy Dalton threw a perfect pass to that linebacker, and he just dropped it. Otherwise, it's a pick six.
And there was nobody there. I mean, that was a horrible decision.
No. And his other interception was a god-awful, atrocious, just bad pass.
And they dropped one more. So he could have had 4. He ended up with 2. But I told y'all, he had 118 interceptions and 133 starts. Okay? That seems to me to represent a trend.
Now he's got 120 and 134 starts. He's catching up on himself.
And, the other thing is he doesn't have a, 2-to-1 ratio is a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a 2-to-1 ratio. So I told y'all, if you have him throw the ball 50 times a game, I said 40, he's going to throw some to the other team. I mean, it's just going to happen. And so, but I think if you look deeper, and that's what we try to do here on the Jam Session Podcast, if you look deeper, now y'all know it pains me to say this. It pains your boy to say this. It's all about Zeke Elliott, man. I mean, I was the one trumpeting Zeke Elliott. You got to build it around him. However you do it, I didn't say you had to give him the ball 25 times or run it to him on 1st and 10, but he's got to be the focal point because that'll open everything else up. Well, my man fumbled late in the first quarter. It was a kind of a weird play because of a broken play. Andy Dalton was about to get sacked, made a desperation throw to Zeke about right around the line of scrimmage. But for some reason, he didn't tuck the ball away right away, and it's like he almost fumbled himself.
It was really weird.
And I was just like, damn, man. I mean, because the defense has played pretty good. So even if you got a punt, defense is playing pretty good. They're going to have to go 80 yards or whatever, 75 yards, maybe 90 yards. And they hadn't shown that they could do that at that point. But instead, you give them the ball at midfield. And boom, 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 touchdown, 7-0. And then he comes back and he fumbles right again the next drive. And at that point, man, they go up 14-0. I'm like, Zach Martin's gone. You're down 14-0 with this ragtag offensive line that now has to pass protect.
And ball game's over.
I basically said, let the blowout start.
Yeah, game was over.
I didn't see how they were going. This ain't Dak. I slinging it all over the place. I didn't see how they were going to come back. And so, if you ask Andy Dalton not to lose the game, you're telling Andy Dalton, we're going to play good around you. Get the ball to Zeke. Get the ball to Amari. Get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. Get the ball to Gallup. Let them make some plays for you. And then my man Gallup, who's been great this year, drops as easy a touchdown pass as he'll ever have.
Yeah.
Just drops it, man. And I'm just like, the hell. And so if they score a touchdown at the end of the first half, make it 21-7, you can go in and say, we've been awful in the first half. We're down by a touchdown. We get the ball. It's just like the Falcons again. If we can get it to 21-14, we got the ball first, we good. But instead, man, it doesn't happen, and it's just, boy.
There are very few quarterbacks that are able to win games when they're throwing it this many times. We talked about this with Dak. That's not what this team or this offense or these quarterbacks are designed to do. And now, you look at Andy Dalton. In his career, this would be the 33rd game that he has thrown it 40 or more times. He is now 8-24-1 in those 33 games.
And Dak is, I think, 4-9 or 4-10 now.
As a matter of fact, when he throws it as much as he did tonight, and you look at this, if he throws it 46 or more times, he's now 0-10. Andy Dalton is. He's not. Again, that's not a knock on Dalton. You have to realize we don't have a quarterback like a Rodgers and maybe a Mahomes that can get away with slinging it 50 times. That's not how it works.
Most quarterbacks can't.
No.
Whether it's Mahomes or whether it's Rodgers, it doesn't even matter. Most of them can't throw the ball that many times and come away victorious. And see, that's for all those football nerds who say you don't have to run the ball. I continue to tell y'all what that means is as long as you run the ball when you want to run it, you choose to run it. And when you need to run it, 3rd and short, close out a game, it's all good. But when you got to pass all the time because you're behind, bro, it's not a recipe for winning. And most quarterbacks, even the best ones, can't throw the ball that often and win it.
If the Cowboys are going to continue to play like this and continue to ask the quarterback to throw it 45, 50, 54 times a game, they're not going to win another game. They're not going to win these games, especially with Andy Dalton back there. And I think you saw a little bit of that tonight of some of the things that Dak is able to do. Hopefully that opens some of your eyes to the idea of how good Dak actually is when he is going out there really with pretty much the same banged-up team. Now, I know they lost Zach Martin tonight, but it's not like Dak was going out there with this phenomenal offensive line the last couple of weeks.
Oh, well, see, I mean, I think the thing that people forgot to think about was just the pure mobility.
Right.
Like, did you see Andy Dalton lead the pocket maybe two or three times?
Andy Dalton's not that type of a guy.
Right. I mean, 2 or 3 times he may have escaped.
Right.
But the rest of it, the pocket's collapsing around him, and he's trying to make plays within the pocket. Dak is gone on those, bro. I mean, he's out trying to make plays on the edge. That's the difference, man. I mean, it's absurd, those of you. I don't want to even say it, but I'm going to say it anyway, man. It's absurd for some of y'all that it took it took tonight's performance for y'all to go, oh, wow, I guess Dak is pretty good. Like, y'all, it's kind of what we were saying last week. Like, Dak ain't really lost no money because he got hurt.
He might be making more after watching what I saw tonight.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Alternative, for real. You know, I think as you continue the conversation here, and again, we encourage you guys to find us on our YouTube channel as well. Just search Jam Session Podcast on YouTube. We're actually going to be having a live show coming up later this week, which you can join us at, by the way, at Oak Highlands Brewery. It's in Lake Highlands, right just like a half a mile north of 635. It's at 635 in Miller. It's called OHB, Oak Highlands Brewery, and we're going to be live broadcasting at 4 o'clock this Friday. And we'll, for those of you that might not live where it's convenient for you to get to the brewery, we'll also put that up on YouTube Live so you can watch it while it's going down. It's at 4 o'clock, a 2-hour live show, 4 to 6 at Oak Highlands Brewery this Friday. But you mentioned this a second ago, and I think this is a big part of what went wrong tonight is Zeke Elliott. And I don't know what's wrong with them. I don't know if it's because this offense has been so staccato almost in a sense to where there's absolutely no rhythm or flow to it, and they can't get Zeke going because they get behind so much and they abandon their ability to run. But this fumbling thing for a running back that doesn't fumble, and that second one tonight, you could see that was in his head. And I think, and maybe you'll hear this on Homer Audio later, I don't know, Chuck Knobloch immediately came to my mind. The second baseman that somehow just stopped being able to throw it to first. I was like, oh, my God, does he have the yips for a football guy all of a sudden?
Let me see. I don't know. I mean, I can't rule it out. But I will say this. I did the math earlier, and I believe Zeke had fumbled 18 times and like 1,300 touches, more or less. Basically, it's one every 75 touches. Yeah. It's pretty good. This year he's fumbling at a rate that was like once every 30 touches, which is kind of absurd. And so to me, it's probably something. One, I think now it's in his head. And two, you hear this from the time you start playing Pee Wee football, man. Once cats know you fumble, they attack the ball like they have never attacked the ball.
Sure.
Knowing that, we might get it. And so they go at it 10 times, 100 times, 1,000,000 times harder than usual, which leads to more fumbles. This happened to DeMarco Murray one year. It's happening to Zeke this year. And, the reality, dog, is there's nowhere to hide, man. You have to fix it. And y'all know, Zeke's one of my favorite players on the team. Obviously, because he went to Ohio State, and I watched him do great things there. But it doesn't matter who you are. I heard Kirk Cousins, your fantasy quarterback, talking about this yesterday.
Oh, that's right, he is. And you know what? He ended up having a great game for me.
But I read his comments today after their game yesterday, and he said, I got to stop throwing these interceptions or I'm not going to be playing quarterback. It's just that simple.
Right.
They'll replace me if I keep throwing these interceptions. And so, as much as I like Zeke, as good as I think Zeke still is, I put it out on Twitter tonight, man, that if Mike McCarthy has any cojones, after the second fumble, he's got to bench him. Now, he benched him for like
a series, maybe.
Not even series. It was like 7 or 8 plays.
Yeah, because Pollard came in, and Pollard looked like he was like, cool, this is my opportunity. Let me show you what I can do a little bit.
But see, here's the deal, man. As much as I like Zeke, tonight might have been the night I said, hey, bro, take a seat over there. Figure out what's wrong with you. Pull your head out your butt and go watch Pollard run. Because if you're the head coach, if you're going to have any juice, if people are going to take you seriously about football being a meritocracy and all these other things that coaches say all the time, then it doesn't matter who you are. You have.
He should have sat his ass. He should have. I mean, back-to-back fumbles on 2 straight series that cost your offense.
Right, and it's just dude, you can't do it. And so, yeah, I mean, I love you. I'm not mad at you. But it's like you tell your kids. You know how many conversations I had with my dude on a weekly basis about, hey, bro, there's consequences to every decision you make. The good decisions lead to good consequences, and the bad decisions lead to bad consequences. Let's try to make good decisions at all times so you don't have to deal with these bad consequences. And then I tell them about bad decisions I made and the consequences that came from those. And I'm not talking about stuff when I was a kid. I'm talking about stuff as an adult. Hey,
right.
I got audited, had to pay the government some money back. Why? Made a bad decision. Had to pay the consequences. And so if you put the ball on the ground, bro, as much as I love you, you got to pay the consequences because that shows everybody on the team that if you screw up, doesn't matter that I don't love you, you got to pay the consequences. And the consequence to me tonight would have been, I'll probably see you in the third quarter, but I can't make you no promises. If Pollard is running good and we get back in it, you might just have to watch this one.
Yeah, because it felt like Pollard did come in and have a little something to what he was doing. I don't know what the thing is with Zeke, man. It's really, really strange for a guy that doesn't fumble like this to have 4 fumbles already on the year in 6 games.
This is the first time he was never a fumbler at Ohio State. This first time, we'll just go to Ohio State. I don't know what he did at Burroughs High School in St. Louis. First time he's ever lost 2 fumbles in a game. He's not a guy who puts the ball on the ground. So, yeah, it makes you think it's some kind of mental thing.
But then it goes back to me to kind of what you were just saying there with the coaching to come in and say, you know what, dude, you don't have it tonight, and we're going to – you sit and think about this for a while, and I'm going to roll with Pollard. And it goes back to some of these mistakes that are being made over and over and over again.
That's why the games look the same every week.
And I just wonder, where in the world is the coaching on this, whether it's on film study, like how they're approaching this or whatever it is in practice in the weeks, that consistently they are coming out, because it's not just Zeke. Yeah, Zeke is fumbling, and that jumps out at you because he never does that. But other guys are making the same mistakes over and over again. Other guys on defense are running past plays or blowing coverages or having players run wide open past them constantly every single game. And I just wonder at what point, if you're Mike McCarthy, I mean, obviously what McCarthy and his coaching staff is doing to hold players accountable, like you were kind of talking about, that you got to say, look, there are some consequences for your action. Where the hell are the consequences? What are they? Because whatever it is that you've decided as a coach is not working with these guys.
No.
6 weeks is a long-ass time in the NFL.
But see, the scary thing to me is the games all look the same. I mean, they fall behind
That's
in
what
the
I'm
first
saying.
quarter. And to me, when they all look the same, there's some disconnect with coaching.
There's a big disconnect to me.
And I'm not saying that it's all Mike McCarthy's fault because some of your best players are making mistakes. But there's some disconnect there, man. I don't know what it is. And you know what? They don't pay me enough to know what it is. I just know that it's there. It's up to y'all to fix that. It's not me.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that you're 6 weeks into this thing, and it's easy to sit here and go, well, Washington and Philadelphia aren't any good, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to use the bad teams to figure out what you haven't been able to figure out against bad teams anyway.
Nah, that ain't never – that to me is like no different than when your kids come on, everybody flunked the test, Dad. I don't care about everybody else. I care about you. And so they got a problem, man. Zeke's got a problem. And, Zeke is like, we got to figure it out. But, dog, I mean, the time is here because they got to lean on you without Dak. And if they can't trust you, I mean, they're kind of hosed.
You've played 3 out of your last 4 games against teams, especially Seattle. Cleveland, who knows? Arizona. I think, as I told you many times, Arizona I thought would make the playoffs this year. They've got some good pieces, as we saw tonight on defense. And the reality of it is you have colossally failed the test against those 3 teams. And then the one team you beat was the Giants. And really, I mean, you look at the whole season. The 2 teams they have beaten are the 1-5 Falcons and the 1-5 Giants. Everybody else has had their way with the Dallas Cowboys. They're not on that level. They're not anywhere close to being good. You know whose level they're on? Atlanta's and New York. They're on a 1-5, 0-6 type level, which is why they're a bad team. We roll 4th. Glad to have all of you guys listen and really do appreciate the support. Seriously. Been blown away by the first week, and we've got more on the way. You heard me talking about one of our sponsors that has jumped on with us. We're going to have a few more that are debuting here probably this week. But if you are listening and you own a local business or know somebody that does that might have interest in sponsoring the show, that would be awesome. That'd be great. Very much appreciated. So just shoot us an email, jamsessioncast@gmail.com. jamsessioncast@gmail.com, and I can get you some more information on that and figure out a way to give you some exposure. And everybody, it's a win-win. Everybody can get helped out.
Absolutely.
And then maybe we'll touch. We'll see. I didn't say anything weird like touch tongues or anything this time.
Just touch.
I just know like a handshake or a high five or a full frontal hug that's creepy.
Right.
But the Cowboys, man, this Cowboys team.
Don't laugh.
I can't help it. Like, the sky is falling. We're all pissed. We don't know how to explain what's happening. They're in first place, in sole possession of first place in the NFC East right now at 2-4.
Completely, totally, utterly irrelevant.
They have a home playoff game locked up right now, the way things sit.
Completely, totally, utterly irrelevant, because I've seen them play at home lately, and they're awful. And so it doesn't matter, man. I believe my man Todd Archer asked Andy Dalton about it today, and somebody else, could have been Archer, I'm not sure who, asked Amari Cooper about it, being in first place, and he was just like, whatever, man. You can't feel good about being in first place when you're playing as bad as we're playing. I'm paraphrasing, but that's exactly right. So being in the playoffs only means something if you're playing good when the playoffs start. It doesn't mean anything for you to get into the playoffs and who's the number one seed right now? Whoever it is, get blasted, 45-7. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we already saw Seattle is undefeated, and so right now it would be Seattle or Chicago, I guess. And we already saw Seattle. I mean, come on.
Yeah, so,
you know what's crazy about this? Right now, they would be, in every other division in football, they would either be second to last or in last place in that division. But they play in the East, where there are 2 1-5 teams and a 1-4-1 team.
Hey, these things are cyclical, and so it happens. But I don't think in this particular case that they're lying to themselves about what the NFC East and the playoff situation is all about. They know what's up, man. They know that they're playing bad football. They know right now that they're a bad team, and they know that even if they were to get into the playoffs with let's keep it real now, 6-10 record. All that means
Can you imagine? Oh my
you have
God.
a worse draft. I mean, Seattle got in there 1 year 7-9.
They need to. There should be a rule that if you do not win your division with at least a 500 record, you're ineligible for the playoffs.
Man,
I've thought that for a long time. They should change that rule to make it that way.
It happens.
'Cause that's dumb.
Every 20 years or whatever. Or in this case, maybe every 10 years.
Because you're not a playoff team, and the fact that you're going to steal a playoff spot from a team that is, and you're going to host a playoff game.
But then Seattle went and beat New Orleans that year. That was the beast mode run.
Good for them.
Or that was, so it happens. But I think I don't think we have to worry about it this year. I think Philadelphia's a better team.
I hope so.
Got a better coaching staff, and I don't see right now anywhere in the world for the Cowboys to go beat them, because to me, they got a little more grit to them. They were getting blown out by the Baltimore Ravens on the road. I think it was 30-16 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I thought the game was over. Boom, boom, boom. They were within a 2-point conversion and tying it. And they refused to lay down on the road against a good Baltimore team.
Yeah, and Dallas, we saw tonight, just quit at home against
that's what I'm saying.
not as good of a team as Baltimore.
And so that's why I say right now, I'd give Philly the edge, and I don't even feel bad about it, man. It's just what it is. They're a better team, I think.
I don't want this team to make the playoffs. I'm at a point right now at 2-4 and seeing where they are in comparison to some of the other teams in the NFC and knowing what the writing on the wall is. I want to give me that top 10 draft pick, man. Make this the Zeke year. Seriously, why not? Make this the year that after you went 12-4, you went 4-12 and got Zeke Elliott. Let's go for that. Let's see if you can finish 2-14. Or 3-13. Now, look, I get it. I would never ask, nor would I expect or believe a professional athlete to purposely try and lose games. That's a fan thing that we like to throw out there. So, no, I don't actually want to see the team lay over and quit like we did tonight.
Right.
But I don't think that they're that good, and so I'm hoping that while trying to compete, they continue to lose.
Dude.
Because you know what? I think you can get a stud pass rusher with the top 8 pick. And I know they got a $20 million pass rusher, but I haven't seen that dude get into the quarterback.
Nope. They got a lot of holes, man.
I would love to see them draft whatever the top cornerback in the draft is. And maybe you pair him with Trayvon Diggs, and they've got something for the next few years. But I haven't seen Trayvon Diggs taking the ball away.
Well, I mean, I didn't know if you were going there, but I was like,
why don't you go draft me one of those guys? draft me a guy who gets sacks or a guy who gets interceptions. Draft me one of those guys.
That's what I would accept. That's what would make me feel good. But it hasn't happened yet, man. Hopefully it does. But I got to tell you, man, it ain't. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I'm a little disappointed.
A little disappointed.
Disappointed.
I'm a little disappointed when I get into the shower and I realize, oh, crap, I left the shampoo in the other shower. Then I'm like, okay, now I got to get out of the shower, walk around to the other bathroom and grab the shampoo. Because I don't know if I told you this, but my son left his shampoo at my house. And I was like, man, I like your shampoo better than the one I already had. So I use it in my bathroom. But when he's here, he's like, Dad, you have my shampoo. So I have to give it back to him. And then it'll be in the other bathroom and I forget about it till I get in the shower. That makes me a little disappointed. Watching what I watched tonight about this team that I have invested my entire life of watching and my fandom into do what they did tonight, disappointment doesn't even be. I want to break up with this team. I want to go to this team's house and say, I got to tell you something. I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't like the way that you make me feel.
Oh, wow.
This feels like a toxic relationship because I feel like I tell you that you're pretty and I go out and I tell my friends that you're pretty. But then when we're hanging out to each other, you cuss at me. You hit me when we've been out drinking. And I'm pretty sure I saw you go over there and cup that dude's sack.
Whoa! Come on, man.
That's how I feel.
Come on, man. I think you look at the NFC East, dog, and it's just it's a poop show.
Yeah, but and you know what's funny about this? Because we briefly mentioned this. Maybe it was before we started recording. Yes, they have Washington and Philadelphia in the next 2 weeks. I don't know that they beat Washington.
Oh, I don't think that's some kind of gimme.
I mean,
it's because we're in the matchup game now. What is Washington's strength? Their defensive line and their defense. What is the Cowboys' weakness right now? It's their offensive line and their propensity to turn the ball over. So even though they got a spare like Kyle Allen at quarterback, you
hate that guy.
If you're going to give him the ball,
you hate him like I hate Dwayne Wade.
At the 25-yard line twice.
That's awesome.
Even he can put it in the end zone.
Yeah.
And now you're asking your beat-up offensive line to hold the fort against Sweat and Chase Young and the two guys from Alabama. And
Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne.
And there's nothing that says they. So I think that's a very difficult game because it's a bad matchup, man. And
I think, and we saw this when Washington beat Philadelphia the first week. They got a lot of pressure up front because Philadelphia was missing some dudes on their offensive line. It created Carson Wentz throwing some poor passes because Carson Wentz has a propensity to turn it over this year. Does that sound like Andy Dalton and this team to you? Because it does to me.
And let me be honest with you, man. Let me be honest with you. Y'all saw the same thing I saw. You saw some quit in the fourth quarter. And so what happens is, I think, I can't even be surprised that we saw some quit, and here's why. What started seeping out a couple weeks ago? Even Zeke said, we don't have any confidence. We got to play with confidence.
Yeah, he did say that.
When you don't have confidence, man, it is incredibly easy to quit. Because what happens is mentally you give in. And you might, hey, who are you to call them out? Hey, dog, let me tell you something, man. This is real now. Matt will tell you. I just got me one of them there Peloton bikes.
You did.
That bike made me quit, dog.
Did it?
No, and I'm serious in the sense that you know,
Man,
you go on a longer ride. You've never done it. You're like, I don't know that I can do this. And so you go into the ride going, I hope I can finish it. And then when it gets hard, you go, I can't do it. So you finish it, but it's a half-ass at the end finish, which if you were playing football means I try to tackle you, but I don't really tackle you. And so
that's true, man. Wait,
so I came back a couple days later.
Makes sense.
And because at least I got to the end of it, then I went into the ride going, okay, I know I can get to the end of it. So, okay, let me do better. And so I did much better. But, nah, man, I was beat down mentally. And so I just kind of gave in. And so I can only imagine when you playing. Now, I was just riding a bike and some air conditioning in my house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can just imagine if you getting bumped and bruised and beat up, that you would just say like.
Yeah, because you look at the score and be like, what for what? Why?
For who? For what?
Why would I go and bust my ass to make this tackle? Because it's not like it matters at this point. And they were right, it didn't.
Yeah, man.
But that happens, I think, anytime, I do that if I'm going to go on a longer run. I can't just be running and decide I'm going to go long today. Like, I have to mentally tell myself beforehand, this is what we're planning to do today. And if something happens, and this happened like a couple of weeks ago where I was like, okay, I'm only going to do a 5K today and not a 10K because my leg was driving me crazy. And I was like, man, I'm not doing this for another 5K after this one because I just got to try and get to halftime.
Right.
And if I can do that, then I'm good because, man, I mean, I don't have a second half in me today. I thought I did, but I don't. That's exactly what we saw tonight.
No. And so that, to me, man, is what we're talking about. We're talking about a team that laid down. And so what happens is, okay, it's Washington. Do you think they got any confidence going into Washington? No. And so what happens is, if they face some adversity early because somebody makes a mistake, they turn it over, they're down 7-0, they're down 10-0, they're down 14-3. They ain't got nothing that says, hey, because they can't even look and say, well, Dak can bring us back. Because they go, that's a pipe dream.
And the funny thing is, to your point about Philadelphia and maybe turning this around and winning the division, Philadelphia is doing this right now. They're looking at their next month going, we've got the Giants and the Cowboys at home, then a bye week, then the Giants. That's three games. Like, we can be 4-4-1, and then we can look at the back part of our schedule and see if we can get some things done.
And they've already played the Ravens. They've already played the Steelers.
I mean,
Dallas has still got those to come. See, I was going to tell you, one of the problems with the NFC East, man, is it's nobody's fault, but they happen to draw what? The AFC North, which is good, with 2.5 good teams.
In the West.
And the West, which is 4 deep.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they suck this year. Like, the Rams are 4-0 already against the NFC East. You know what I'm saying? And they're just going to get – I mean, those teams are going to fatten up this year against the Cowboys and the rest of the NFC East foes.
Yeah, and it's become this thing where I look at the schedule now, and I just assume that if it's not an NFC East team, they lose to Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Baltimore, San Francisco. That's 4 more losses right there. And then I have no idea about Cincinnati. It's a road game. Maybe by then Joe Burrow's playing like a veteran.
Right.
And hell – I'm going to try to trade for Joe Mixon just so I can use him in that game because he'll run all over the Cowboys. But yeah, I think the point being is just because they're NFC East doesn't mean, one, that they're going to make the playoffs, and two, why do you want them to at this point? And I do think we're quickly approaching that point of the season where fans are going to start wanting them to lose because – what's the point of, like you pointed out, making the playoffs at 7-9 and getting your ass kicked in the first round when you could have gone 5-11 and gotten the 7th overall pick in the draft?
Yeah.
Because I'll take that. I would much rather take 7th overall.
I think that's hard for people, man. It's hard to deal with the reality that is your reality. You know what I'm saying?
I'll accept it really quickly here. And if they lose to Washington, then I'll be hoping that they lose a few down the stretch. Like, just for real, because to me, I've seen first-round playoff losses. I've seen them lose in the wild card game. I've seen them lose in the divisional round. I don't care about that.
What do you care about?
I care about an NFC title game or more. Although I would say if this team was healthy and it's totally different. Because the group of guys that you want to be here to get the experience of doing something isn't here. So what do I care what this team does? It's Andy Dalton's not going to be here next year. There's a bunch of random spare dudes.
Yeah, but I think
and maybe it helps them to lose and suck and be 4-12 so that they can look in the mirror and go, man, maybe I shouldn't be swiping all the time.
Wow. Now, see, I didn't think he played that bad today. But I think there's something to that. But I think there's also something to the fact that maybe we look at it like you look at Romo, dog. You're wasting another year. I mean, we sit there,
I said
fine.
That tonight,
you suck this year, okay, fine. But no, it don't work like that, man. Okay, Zeke as a running back, he's another year older. Closer, especially running back, closer to the end than the beginning. Okay, now you've wasted one more year, this dynamic trio of receivers. Because we all think you're going to get rid of Amari Cooper after one more year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All your offensive linemen, they already getting beat down now because they can't even stay healthy for a year. So you may have already wasted that window. And so that's why I've always said this. It's become more clear lately that when you have an opportunity to win, dog, you got to win. And they've had a couple of them, and they didn't pull it out. And now, dog, it's just like whatever, man.
Yeah, it feels like the last 5 years they've been in that conversation at the beginning of the year of this is a talented team with a talented roster. And apparently it's not. I guess it's just not. But it is a bad team. And they tried to switch out the coaching, and that hadn't done anything to change it.
No, it's been terrible.
I mean, it's only made it worse. So I don't know what the solution is here other than to lose as many games as possible. Like, I would absolutely love if they finished with like a top 2 pick and then they could trade it for a bevy of picks from another team that was desperate for a quarterback. That'd be awesome.
Really?
Why not? Like, if they finished, and I know this isn't going to happen because the Jets are worse, I think. I think the Jets are worse. But the Jets are 0-6. They need Trevor Lawrence. It would make sense. We'll see. But like, if you ended up with the number 1 pick, and you don't need Trevor Lawrence. You've got Dak, who has already developed. And look, even Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, who are the 2 best quarterback prospects of the last however many years,
right?
Even they needed a year or 2 to develop in the NFL.
Whoo, boy.
And people forget about that.
Right,
Peyton Manning threw a gazillion interceptions his rookie year. Trevor Lawrence, it's not like he's going to walk into the league and be like, oh, my God, look, here's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers needed 3 years on the bench to develop. Point being, if you ended up with a pick like that, and some team called and said, hey, we want to come up and get Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence or whatever. Man, cool. How many picks can we get from you? That'd be neat to me right now at this point, having just watched the 38-10 slap across the face with a you-know-what.
Wow. That led me to this. I was going to ask you your opinion of this. I put this out there on Twitter. I was being kind of a smart ass. Would you describe the Cowboys as embarrassing, pathetic, sorry, or bad?
See, you put that out there before the last couple of scores, and so I clicked bad. Right now, I would re-click pathetic.
Interesting because and it's got a good number. This got 1,700 votes. 40% embarrassing, 35% pathetic. Only 5% call them sorry. I wonder if that's more of an older word, and so you're sorry.
Yeah.
And then 20% say bad. I was just trying to bring a little levity to a bad situation.
I think a bad team played pathetically tonight.
Oh, that's one way of saying it.
To me, because I really do, and part of that is because of a night in which I think Kyler Murray, to me. It was interesting when he came in here and all the hype of being back, and they made a big deal out of his return to AT&T Stadium, which they should. First time as an NFL player to play in a stadium that he won multiple state titles at when he was with Allen, and then came in and won a Big 12 championship with. Right. And now you're going to play here as an NFL player is kind of cool.
Right.
But when you looked at it, Kyler Murray early on to me, almost it felt like you hear this a lot about Super Bowls where the quarterback's throws will have a little more zip on them and they sail them a little bit.
True that.
And they got to calm down. He missed multiple throws early on of wide open receivers where, this game, it could have been 28-0 really quickly.
No, I mean, they were attacking early, and why wouldn't you? I mean, the Cowboys give up a lot of big plays. Cowboys have had a lot of busted coverages. Why wouldn't you attack if it was there? But the thing about it was he missed early. He went to he was going after the little receiver from Massachusetts, Andy Isabella, I think.
Yeah, Isabella.
And he missed him a couple of times, and so but they kept coming back, and then they hit Christian Kirk with the big one.
Yeah, the 80-yarder.
But the fact that they kept coming back meant, they were like, something's there. We'll just keep trying it until we hit it. And that's kind of sad.
It is sad, but Kyler Murray was only 9 of 24 tonight, 188 yards passing. 80 of those came on one throw.
Right.
But he does that thing, man. He is
electric.
Yeah, electric's a good way. I described it as almost like a pinball. Like when you're playing in a pinball machine and you think that your little stoppers are going to get it. Like, man, how'd the ball get over there?
Because here's it. He finished with 70 yards rushing. He had a run for 11. He had a run for 15. And he had a run for 16. In addition, they had a couple others that were like 6 or 7 or 8.
Yeah, and then they had that sweet-ass play for the touchdown where he ran it in. I mean, they had some really nice play calls, which you can do when you have a guy.
When you have that guy.
Yeah, right.
When you have that guy.
I was like, man, that'd be fun to do that on Madden.
That's why a lot of people play with the Cardinals on Madden. For that reason, because he's a cheat code, man. But he had, what did he have? I thought he had, where did he score? Well, I guess he scored one run. I thought he scored twice.
Yeah, I think the other one was just shy, remember?
Yeah.
He was down right like on the 1-inch yard line or whatever. But yeah, they had some sweet plays, and you get that sense, much like it feels like they still need some weapons.
Well, they don't have enough because Larry Fitzgerald is an older player now.
Right.
Christian Kirk had that big play, but he's just a guy to me. He's a speedster, so, if you sleep on him, maybe he does something. They got to have somebody with DeAndre Hopkins. If you think about it, the Cowboys, I'll give them credit. They did a pretty good job on DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, for the most part, 2 for 73, but one of them was that weird 60-yarder that was when they gave up. Like, go run for it, DeAndre. That's neat to watch you do this. Because before that, he had 1 for 13.
Yeah, but he hit him. It was a good play because, it's more like a play you see at the goal line. They ran him all the way across the field, and when you look at the replay, you can see Diggs gets caught up in the traffic, and he's not even anywhere close to him when he catches the ball and turns it upfield. It's you know what that's called, though? That's called scheming a guy open. That's like, dude, you only had one catch today.
Oh, we saw a few of those from the Cardinals today.
Let's get you a little something to work with, man. And they did that. And so, Kyler Murray, man, he's clearly he's still got a lot of work to do, but you like what you see. And here's the other thing about Kyler Murray, man. All that winning at Allen, all that winning at OU, because we're going to forget about the A&M days.
Sure.
He's got some of that it factor.
Oh, yeah.
And he can make it happen. And as they get more weapons around him, and here's the deal. When you got a coach like Kingsbury is your coach, then when you're in the draft and stuff, you're always going for the offensive guys, whether it's linemen, whether it's receivers, whatever. And so I expect them to add some dynamic guys around him. And the more they do that, the better he'll be.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, he had some really, really nice plays tonight, but I didn't think he was great by any stretch of the imagination.
He didn't throw it well enough to be great.
Right, and that's what's so crazy about this is they won 38-10 on a night when Kyler Murray went 9 of 24. Think about that. 9 of 24, the opposing quarterback, and they beat you by 28 points. That's 4 touchdowns.
Right.
Without a problem. Like, it was never a game.
Never, ever a game, bro.
Yeah, this Arizona team, man, I tell you, they've got Budda Baker, man. Like, wow, that dude. And I'm sitting there, and I get it's a different philosophy defensively, but I'm watching that play, and I go, it's weird to me that the Cowboys don't seem to think the safety position matters, and I'm watching a safety kick their ass over and over again.
But he's the highest paid safety in the game. He's supposed to be one of the best.
Still. But
that other guy, is that the white guy named Byron? Because he was all over the place, number 22.
Yeah, they had a few guys, man. They have, Drake Kirkpatrick, who had an interception. I know Patrick Peterson is at the back part of his career, but they've they've got some dudes defensively that look like they can make some plays. And I watched that Arizona team play, and I had this thought: who on the Cowboys defense would start for the Cardinals? I'm serious.
I didn't even go there, man.
I keep thinking maybe Tank, but I don't know what's wrong with Tank.
Start.
And I know he's hurt, and I guess it's a lingering thing that's just going to be a problem for him again this year.
See, man. Yeah, I mean, you talk to people over there, he still shouldn't be playing. He's that banged up, but then you look at it like, would you rather have 70% of Tank, or would you rather have Dorrance Armstrong out there?
I don't know.
I mean, that's the question.
At this point.
I mean, you say you don't know, but Dorrance Armstrong, I mean, he's a great guy, but he's just a guy on the football field.
Yeah, and another thing in watching this, the differences between these two teams, and I get it because of the quarterback and the fun things they can do, but you just mentioned something that I feel like we just don't see with Kellen Moore, and I don't know why that is. They scheme guys open. They find ways to create plays for their quarterback and for their receivers to do things that I thought we were getting with Kellen Moore, but
I'm gonna disagree with you there. In this respect, okay, I'm not. In one respect, I see what you're saying, but dude, they've been scoring 30-something points a game and 500 yards. Their problem is, and this was the first time in 4 weeks that they hadn't had a receiver get 100 yards. There's a difference when you got Andy Dalton back there and when you got Dak Prescott.
Which is fair.
And that's why they're a very weird team, because there's a lot to like, but there's so much not to like. That you can easily be conflicted about their offense, because the bottom line is, what's the main thing we spend all this time talking about is killing them on offense? Too many effing turnovers. Just too many of them. Well, who's responsible for the vast majority of those turnovers? Their star quarterback and their star running back.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't sit there and say.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Because
they have been explosive, and they do make a lot of plays.
They were leading the league. And see, this is what I'm talking about when y'all sit up there and go, well, Dak's just a guy. I mean, the number of people, much like the hate hive, I realize it's a small group, but the number of people sitting up here talking about Andy Dalton can do this or do that.
No.
Okay, Dak Prescott, when he was in charge of the Cowboys offense, they led the league with 27 plays of 20 yards or more. They were second in the league in 40-yard pass plays. Okay, they had one today, third quarter, before they got that one to Amari Cooper. Then I think they had another one late. Their offense did nothing. Explosive. And we've all heard, we all know, because I've told y'all, you get points through big plays.
Yeah. Yeah, and they didn't have any of those tonight.
No.
Which is really frustrating, because in my fantasy matchup going into tonight, the team I was playing had DeAndre Hopkins, and I had Michael Gallup.
Really?
Dude, and when he dropped that touchdown pass, I thought that's going to be what loses, because it was neck and neck. And somehow DeAndre Hopkins ends up not having a monster game, and I held off the team I was playing by 4 points.
Really?
Yes.
Big win for you, Matt.
I beat Brandon. I was like, hell yeah, man. That's what I needed. Because I lost Dak, my starting quarterback. I've lost Austin Eckler, who was my best starting running back. And somehow I was able to finagle my way to a pretty solid win this week. You know why? Because I'm not the Cowboys. I don't quit. I could have quit, honestly, when I lost Dak this week, and I thought about it. I thought, man, what am I going to do without Dak? I should trade my other good players and maybe get some keepers and see what happens.
Really? Yes, I remember that. You were trying to get Dallas Goedert.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that because it's not time yet. I can make some moves and piece this thing together and see what happens. And sure enough, my team showed up for me, which is more than I can say for these Cowboys tonight. Because reality of it is, they did quit. The defense quit tonight.
At the end, they quit. They were beat down. I think they started quitting.
I think in the second half, like when the halftime came out.
I think it was second half. I think it was more after that first turnover where CeeDee Lamb got yanked down and they didn't call it and they got that interception in. Because first two plays after that were like runs were like, okay, really? Y'all ain't gonna even try to stop the guy. See, those to me is you lay down, but
Edmonds.
That's the give-in I'm talking about, like when I was on the Peloton bike. Like, you just like mentally, you're defeated.
Yeah, no, it was Drake. Yeah, because he went, I think it was, 20 yards and then 23 yards and then 9 yards. Like, dink, 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 just like that. And it really did. And I think you're right. I think that was the turning point in the game where they just laid down and were like, we're done. When the refs didn't call it, because I even tweeted this out, I was like, oh, okay, so the refs don't care either. Like they're done with this game.
Yeah,
I was like,
hurry up.
All right.
Let's hurry up and get out of here.
You know, because then they call the pass interference on Jordan Lewis in the end zone. You're like, wait, hold on a second. So that's pass interference, but tackling a guy in the open field isn't.
No, it was pathetic, man. But it happens, man, when you play bad and you do, name me. Okay, check this out, Matt. Name me all. I want you to really do some research now. Name me all the bad teams over history who've gotten breaks. I mean, go ahead, sit there. Go and count them up, tally them up.
Yeah, okay.
Now the good teams, I know a lot of good teams that get breaks. You give me all the bad teams that've had all the breaks go their way. Yeah, come on, I'm waiting, buddy.
I don't know what to say about this team, man. I mean, it's been however far along we are in the podcast that many of you are listening to, and we appreciate you doing that. And you're sharing your frustrations with us. I know it. You're welcome to weigh in with us. When you listen to the podcast, let us know at McMatt Radio, at JJT_journalist, what your thoughts are. I don't know where this team goes from here. I really don't. They have an offense that without Dak and without the offensive line that we thought they were going to have, I think goes from one of the best offenses in the NFL to obviously what we saw tonight, which is a sputtering mess of crap.
No, dog. I mean, it's going to be a serious, serious challenge each and every week for them to get something done, because without the guys up front, man. And what do you always talk about when you're talking about offensive line? It's about your ability to work as a unit and as a group and make it happen. Well, with this ragtag offensive line they got, 1 or 2 dudes going to be breaking down every play. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It is. 1 or 2 dudes going to be breaking down every play, and that's going to end up with you not being able to succeed.
I feel like, honestly, when Connor Williams is like your anchor, like your guy that has done it the most, I feel like you have an absolute serious problem. And you go from being, and I didn't think, even with Zach Martin in there, I don't think they were a top 5 offensive line by any stretch of the imagination. But I think they're better than average. Maybe. Maybe I don't. I don't know what I think. I know this is a bad team. I think the receiving group is still really good. I think the running back is still really good. Outside of that, I don't think the offensive line is any good. The quarterback is average at best, and this defense is the worst defense in the NFL. I mean, hands across the board in a variety of statistical components, this defense is horrible.
I got to laugh to stop from crying, bro.
Yeah, this is a tough one tonight for me. I mean, I went through a lot of, I was pissed at first, and then I wanted to stop caring, and then we were first jumped into the studio to record. And for those of you listening, I mean, Jacques and I watch these games at our houses and meet up to record the podcast. It's 1:00 in the morning right now on essentially Tuesday morning, October 20th, when we're recording this.
Right.
So it's still fresh, and I've gone through that. I want to be pissed off, but at the same time, I want to accept to myself that this is just what it is. And when I'm driving in to record this thing, I'm just having all these thoughts about this team, and I get so frustrated. And I even tweeted this out at one point tonight. I said, I wish I could time travel, because I would have gone back to January 28th, 1996, and I would have time traveled to that Super Bowl Sunday. And I would have slapped my own self, because I was laying on the couch in our little side room with the girl I was dating at the time, not really paying attention to the Super Bowl. Because, I mean, why would you? I've seen
the third one in 4 years.
And I want to go, look, man, wake up and watch this damn game. Because I'm your future self. What is that in your hand? It's called an iPhone. Don't worry, it'll be really cool when you get to it. Wow. What is this screenshot? I am showing you what happens in the next 25 years. And I'm telling you, this is a real conversation. I had this conversation with my lady friend tonight, like in the middle of the game. I said, I'm starting to feel like how I feel about the Texas Rangers, where I had accepted as a Rangers fan that I just happen to love a team that's never going to win. And then they tricked me.
Whoa.
They tricked me in 2011.
Whoa.
And I thought they were going to, and I don't know when the hell that could ever happen again. And I'm really starting to believe that same malaise where every year I want to act like I believe there's hope, but I think that deep down I really know there's not. But it's more fun to pretend because we're Cubs fans, right?
Right.
For years and years. We'll still go to the game and sit in the bleachers in the sun and drink our beers and hang out with our buddies. But I think we know we're not going to win.
I can see where you're coming from.
And I'm starting to really feel that way about this franchise. I'm honestly starting to get to a point that as long as Jerry Jones and this family is running it, and I know Steven's going to be the next man up, I just don't know what's different now than what was different 10 years ago and 10 years before that. And they've cycled through a variety of coaches and a variety of quarterbacks. They've had every few years, oh, man, this group of talent we've got, we feel really good about it. And then what happens? Colossal failure.
Well, I think I get all of that. I think the most damning thing about it is, and I don't really even think it's comparable, for a team that has had, several, really outstanding, great Hall of Fame caliber players during this stretch. I mean, dude, the reality that they really have gone from 95 to 96 without consecutive 10-win seasons.
Yeah, not even going to the NFC title game.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like back-to-back 12 or 13-3s. I'm just talking about 10. I mean, think about that. They haven't had back-to-back 10-win seasons since 06, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 24 years, bro. That's a long time for a franchise that's supposed to be good, and for a franchise that's supposed to be a contender.
I mean, I think about this a lot. I really do. Because I've got my youngest brother just turned 30 this year. He has no recollection of the Cowboys being good. He was 5 and some change when they last won a Super Bowl. He doesn't remember that Super Bowl. And so we were having a conversation once not that long ago, and I was like, yeah, blah, blah. And he goes, man, I said something about like, well, at least we're not the Lions. And he goes, to me, they are.
Whoa!
And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, how is it different?
Dude.
And I started thinking about it. I was like, this is a 30-year-old man who's married, who is sitting here because in his lifetime, for the most part, because he doesn't remember, if you're 30 years or younger, this is the Lions. Because the Lions don't have consecutive 10-win seasons. The Lions haven't been to the NFC title game.
Dude, how about if you're my 16-year-old son?
It's even worse, obviously, because they're so colossally irrelevant. And yet they're relevant. They continue to be the most profitable franchise in all of sports.
Okay, now what you're getting, now the wormhole you opened.
I can't help it, man. Like, I'm trying to figure this out tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I had lunch with a former member of the organization, probably about a month, 6 weeks ago. And, we were talking. We were just chatting, catching up. We talked about a whole bunch of stuff. Only part of that was the Cowboys. And he said, it's just hard to win over there, man. He goes, because the culture over there now has almost morphed totally into it doesn't matter as long as we put butts in seats and people think we're going to win. Because if we sell them that hope, then they'll put butts in seats. That'll put money in our pockets. And the person I was talking to said something to the effect of, so that's the most important thing? I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what he asked, Jerry. And Jerry goes, well, yeah. And so you're just like, Wow, really? And, he says winning's the most important thing.
It's not. It's not. It's obvious that it's not. And it's hard for us to accept that as fans.
But
I think that we know that
it's obvious that it's not?
Because if it was, I don't think that they would have stayed with Garrett as long as you look at other franchises that don't have the type of success in the postseason. I get that you love the guy and you're good to him and all that, but you move on because it is about winning. Other franchises that struggle, that have a history of winning, make different choices than what the Cowboys have done. The Cowboys have figured out the greatest trick ever. And I think that a lot of us stay in relationships like this, and this is why we stay in this relationship with the Cowboys. It's a lot easier to be with somebody when they're mediocre because, you kind of have expectations that sometimes we're going to hook up, but eventually you get used to the fact that you're only having sex a few times a year. But you know what? It's a lot easier to stay with that person because you know them and you're familiar with them than it is to break it off and branch out and go somewhere because you remember when you first got together and damn, and if they could have been that once, maybe they can again.
Right.
And all my stuff is over here. I got to get a lawyer if I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
I'm going to keep working on it. That's what the Cowboys have become to me, man. The Cowboys are a sexless marriage.
Wow. Dude.
They are.
I got to quit talking to you this late at night. You go too deep.
I think it's great.
The Cowboys are a sexless marriage.
That's what this team has become.
Wow. I'm speechless, and that doesn't happen to me often.
No, but I think that there's a lot of truth to it. It's the same type of mindset where it's just comfortable. We know that this is our team. It's like I said, it's what I grew up with. I wonder all the time, what if I didn't grow up in Dallas? What if my parents weren't Cowboys fans and we didn't watch Cowboys games every week my whole life?
Right.
What team would I be a fan of? Would it be easier? Would I like it more? I don't know. I have no idea. Because even the Jets have been to the AFC Championship game a couple of times since the Cowboys went to their conference title game.
Yeah, it's I have a weird perspective on it because I grew up a huge Cowboys fan. Because people ask me all the time now, well, aren't you a Cowboys fan? I mean, you cover the team. And I was like, nah, bro, you can't. And see, most people say you can't be a journalist and cover the team and be a fan. I submit to you that I know several people who cover the Cowboys who are fans, who are supposed to be journalists.
Oh, I know. It happens.
But the difference is, and I tell my friends this, I don't talk about it publicly. But since you guys are all my friends, I'll tell y'all. Again, I grew up a huge Cowboys fan. When I got out of college, I was a Cowboys fan. And when I started covering the team, I was pretty much awestruck because I had been rooting for these guys, Troy, Emmett, Michael. This was like 95.
Yeah.
I've been rooting for them since they showed up in 89, 90, 91. And let me tell y'all what happens. And it's not about Troy, Emmett, and Michael. It's about you get out there to Valley Ranch and you write something somebody doesn't like and they give you a cold shoulder, and then somebody wants to cuss you out, and then somebody does this and somebody does that. And it doesn't take long for you to go, oh, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, man.
It's I'm a journalist doing the job, and the players are now, for lack of a better word, my work colleagues. And because now I've gone behind the curtain and I've seen who they really are, and some of them, like Troy, you're like, wow, that dude is everything I thought he'd be. And some others who will go unnamed for now, you're like, wow, that dude's a 7-letter cuss word if there ever was one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the weirdest part of being intricately in sports. Because I remember there was a couple of guys when I first was going into the Rangers clubhouse, just getting audio and stuff.
Yeah.
That you kind of talk to, or you see the way that they are when the lights aren't on them around other people, or the way they treat other people. And you're just kind of like, man, that dude is an asshole. I mean, that dude's an asshole. And if I'm talking Rangers, we all know who I'm talking about. But, there is a few of them. And there's always, it's like anything else, man. You can't get a group of 25, 30, 50 people and all of them be like kick-ass people. You're going to have a few assholes.
I would say so.
But as far as the Cowboys go, you're right. It's late in the night, and I'm glad you guys are listening to this. So, I mean, we kind of went down, but that's what's great about podcasts. You can go down the rabbit hole. You can have the weird 1 a.m. philosophical discussion. And some of you out there are like, oh, my God, I'm in a sexless marriage. And I probably just saved some marriages. So good for me tonight.
Yeah, Doc. Good for you.
And if you're not in one of those and you have no idea what I'm talking about,
good for you.
Then good for you. But it is time, because I know many of you have been expecting it. You've been wondering when it was happening. Secret audio of a Cowboys homer.
Wow.
And we've got a few clips here for you this evening, this morning, this afternoon, whenever you're listening to it. It's a podcast. You can listen whenever you want.
And that is the beauty of it.
Secret audio of a Cowboys homer. For those that don't know, we would do it on the radio show that we had. And I grew up, as I just mentioned, in a Cowboys family, watching Cowboys games since I can remember. And so I love the Cowboys. And I'm a very passionate fan. I like to yell and scream and cuss and do a lot of the other things that a lot of you like to do as well while I'm watching that. And we found it amusing to record my reactions. So without further ado, here is my reaction really to the opening drive in the beginning of the game against the Cardinals tonight.
I mean, they're building this up like it's the Super Bowl. Going deep. Oh, and he missed him. He was wide open. That's a touchdown, and he missed him. Incredible. I mean, that dude he's got that. 180. God, and a negative on the first carry. Got rid of that, and 2 plays for 1 yard. How exciting. Dumps it off to Zeke again. That looks badass. What a offense that is.
Whoa.
3 and out. I mean, look at this. He pushed his Brandon Knight out of the way like he's not even there. God. This is going to be a long season, man.
Yeah, so, we decided, for those wondering what the beep is, we decided that when we were going to do this, even though it's a podcast, and yes, we do cuss from time to time.
Right.
For those of you, we're not trying to make it gratuitous. And when I watch these games, I mean, I am just dropping them left and right at some points. And so that to me can be a lot. And so for that, and I also think that the beeps kind of make it funnier, although, man, that beep was loud as hell.
No, very loud.
Like, holy crap, we both looked at each other like, what was that? All right, so
it was a malfunction.
Let's see what is next here. So this one is just, apparently I titled this one, Cardinals Fail on Offense, Cowboys Have a Chance.
Jeez.
So, well, here it is. Let's hear what this one is.
Oh, my God, this game is disgusting to watch. I wonder if Cliff Kingsbury has a couple of girls from Tech stashed up in Dallas that he hooked up with when they came into town. 3rd and 12. Get him off the field. Come on.
Nice.
Obviously, he's going to pick it. Why wouldn't you pick up a 3rd and 12? Oh, another flag. You can't let them pick up a 3rd and 22. And they're not even going to try. God, they look just as bad as we do. They actually get decent field position here.
They did for a minute. I remember that, yeah. So I guess I was hopeful at some point that maybe this thing would turn around, but it really didn't take that long for reality to set in.
Dropped it. Awesome. Man, if Arizona wasn't helping them, this game's 21-0. They're going for it. God, what a play call. Easy. Oh, they'll score a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Come on. Oh, that was cool. Easy touchdown. Easy.
Now I'm excited for Arizona.
Right there, kids. What a fun team to watch play.
Wow, man.
They didn't have a fucking prayer to stop that.
Whoa.
And then they're going to play blinding lights for the Cardinals. Come on, man.
I forgot about that. They scored. I think I was the one that made it 14-0, and they played The Weeknd's Blinding Lights, which is a song I absolutely love. And I was like, really? We got to play that for the Cardinals? Not cool. So that takes us to our next one, which is, oh, great. Here's Zeke.
I mean, the game's over. You're going to lose because you suck. You're a horrible team. I mean, this is incredible. And Connor Williams is horrible. God, and he fumbled again. Are you kidding me? Holy God, this team is bad. Garbage dump piece of shit football team.
Whoa!
What the fuck are we doing? He's got the yips. Oh, my, this is unbelievable. I mean, this is stunning.
Awesome.
I mean, this game's over. They'll score right here, and that's ball game, 14-0. Just pick whatever open receiver you want, Kyler. I mean, soft cover. It's been soft all night. God, Brian Greasy is horrible.
He is.
I mean, it's just like a stream of conscious rant.
Zeke needs to secure the ball. Cowboys with soft coverage. There goes Kyler. Where are you going? Right around. Easy touchdown. 14-0. Oh, no, he's down at the 1-inch yard line. How exciting. Who is taunting on the defense?
Tyrone Crawford.
Tyrone Crawford is taunting somebody? For what?
Yeah, I saw that penalty. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Dude.
What are you taunting them about?
That dude, Kyler Murray's gone. And because you pancaked or body slammed somebody 10 yards away from a play, see, this is what we're talking about. This is what is called a complete lack of focus. Because even if you say, well, you did nice, you're so focused on your own little individual thing that you've forgotten the team.
Like Mike McCarthy should have yanked him out of the game for that. Like, what are you doing? You play on a defense that gives up 36 points a game.
You shouldn't taunt anybody.
God. So then that takes us, as we continue on secret audio of a Cowboys homer, to this next clip. Oh, I think this is the touchdown.
Oh, my God, he's wide open. He caught it. Touchdown. 21-0. Cut the whole team. God, this team sucks. You got to be kidding me. This team is horrible. Guy's wide open by 400 feet. 80-yard touchdown play. This team is fire Mike Nolan. Fire Mike Nolan right now at halftime. What a joke. This is pathetic.
I'm pissed.
They'll hit that anytime they want. You can throw that pass. Literally throw that pass on every single play, Kyler. It's open for you. Trash. Sit here, watch this game. Jerry Jones ought to be embarrassed of himself putting this crap together. Trying to sell this to people as a team. Joke.
Yeah, I lost it a little bit on that one.
Dude.
Like hearing that back, I forgot how pissed I was. I was.
It sounds like you're talking to Maddox, man.
Yeah, what's crazy is that sometimes you'll hear it where it sounds like it's because I jump the thing that records me is kind of like on the couch, and sometimes I just jump off the couch. I'm like running around the house yelling at the TV, just pissed. I can't sit still.
Dude, bro.
That's awesome.
What can I say?
Fire Mike Nolan. I'm so mad.
You're upset for real.
So this leads to the next one. I can't tell what this is. I think it's second quarter or something here. Obviously,
that was still all in the first quarter. I guess.
Now you're going to ask Andy Dalton to throw it 9 million times in a game.
Pretty much.
He's like, oh, this is going to be great. I got this great run game with Zeke. Nope.
It's true.
You can take Dalton out of Cincinnati, but you can't take the Cincinnati out of Dalton, can you? Probably what he's thinking right now. Come on, throw it to Gallup. Oh, my God, it's a sack. Jesus.
What?
And Gallup missed it. God, Michael, come on, man. God, I needed that. Gallup, man, come on. How do you miss that? Dude. Come together for what?
Yeah, because Michael Gallup's on my fantasy team, as I was talking about earlier, and when he missed that, I mean, it's just...
It was par for the course that night, man. Like, he wouldn't miss that game, that pass, another 50 times, another 100 times.
Oh, yeah, so this next one's pretty good here. This is the clip, I believe, of when the refs miss the pass interference and Dalton throws the pick that obviously leads to the Cardinals really beginning to just put this thing away. So here it is.
Got him. Oh, he avoids the sack, short arms it. Oh, there's the Andy Dalton pick. There you go. That's a flag. How's that not a flag? Wow. Okay. Looked like PI to me. This team should be 0-6. They're going to be 2-4, and they should be 0-6. Or 1-5, They pull out one miracle. They should be 1-5. That's reality, man. And then right up they're done. Kenny and Drake right up the middle immediately for 400 yards.
It was so weird.
The resignation right there, bro.
I know, and I think it gets to a point where I'm not even mad. I'm just so sarcastic, and it gets cynical, where I'm throwing out all these sarcastic thoughts where it's kind of pissy, but not like anger.
It's it's some relationship stuff, man. It's displacement, and
it is kind of. All right, so we still have a couple more clips. The secret recordings of me watching the Cowboys game from Monday night, the loss to the Cardinals. So up next, I believe, is just the another Kyler Murray touchdown run here. Yeah, that's what this is, that 1-yard little TD that he had.
Run for 20, run for 23, run for 10. They're done. They're just trying to get off the field. It's that easy, man. And great, now he's hurt again. Awesome, kick ass.
Wow.
So sarcastic.
I mean, it's resignation,
Joe
man.
Thomas still playing.
We talked about this. It's past anger.
It's 28-3. That doesn't matter.
Oh, you know what it is?
Easy, Kyler Murray,
You're
done.
going through like the stages of grief.
Did you hear that exhale?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I think that's what it is. You're going through the stages of grief.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. Because
you see the season dying.
I mean, like, once that happened where I was screaming about firing Mike Nolan and all that, that was as angry as I got. And then from there, it just became like a resigned, sarcastic cynicism.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's painful to listen to.
And then, I think that this next clip is the Hopkins stuff because, again, the guy I was playing in fantasy football had Hopkins. So I went from caring at all about the game for the Cowboys to really kind of focused more on, like, I don't even know if I was paying attention until I noticed, oh, my God, DeAndre Hopkins is running wild. So let's hear this one.
Greatness to Hopkins. Great, they're going to let him score. God, unbelievable. This team is horrible. I mean, the least thing that you could do is not let Hopkins do anything to help me out a little bit. No, not the Hopkins.
That's all about your fantasy team. Come on, man.
Pretty nuts, man. Like anybody but Hopkins at this point. Just please get this game over with.
Yeah, I mean, because I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I got a 4-point lead. Stop throwing to Hopkins. The game is over. Can we end the game? And so there you go. I mean, again, really, the clip about Mike Nolan cracked me up. It cracked you up, too. But outside of that, I mean, it's the emotion of this game. And I mentioned this earlier. If we weren't doing a podcast on it immediately afterwards or ever, I wouldn't have watched the fourth quarter of this game.
Wow.
I wouldn't have. What was the point? To torture myself? All right. And then finally, as always, the clip of the
randomness of Matt McLaren.
I think you heard a few of them already, but here is the random stream that just spews out of my mouth. It's about a minute long, so get ready for this.
All right, you get to dress in a box and take weird family pictures. You know what's in my wallet, Jennifer? Nothing. I mean, God, stop. Who's messaging nonstop? Okay, Aaron Rodgers, are you paying for insurance? Because if you are, you're not getting a Rodgers rate, you moron. The Rodgers rate would be free because you're doing an endorsement. Wow, they're bad. I wonder if Cliff Kingsbury has a couple of girls from Tech stashed up in Dallas that he hooked up with when they came into town. What
is this song you got going?
Alexa, what's the temperature?
There it is. I got to tell you, man, those Aaron Rodgers commercials are starting to they'll never be as annoying as the Baker Mayfield ones. But the whole thing about Aaron Rodgers is he keeps trying to tell that guy, oh, yeah, thanks for the Rodgers rate. And I'm just sitting there going, you obviously pay. You're not getting a discount. A discount would be like you would not have to pay for it. Drives me insane. It's like they think we're dumb.
Well, yeah, they do.
Well, I disagree with them. So that basically will bring us to the end of this one. And we had several people actually, man, can you guys get 2 hours in? And you got to realize, especially on these late games, I mean, it is almost 1:30 in the morning.
True that.
So it is getting late. I will tell you this, we are going to be bringing you 3 episodes a week at minimum. At some point, we may start doing more episodes. We'll see. But generally speaking, you'll expect a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We didn't drop one this Monday because the Cowboys played Monday night. So we're dropping one Tuesday. We're also dropping one Wednesday and Friday this week.
Correct.
And the reminder, I mentioned this earlier, but we will be on location on Friday at Oak Islands Brewery doing a live podcast from 4 until 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Great for happy hour. They got some really good beers on tap. Looking forward to that. And it'll also be on YouTube live.
You know, we should also tell people, if you want us to come to your spot and do a podcast live there, all you got to do is hit us up at Jam Session Cast, and we'll send you the information to make that happen.
Yeah, we can do that as well. You can get us where you are, maybe even for a birthday party, or perhaps you just want to watch us jump in your pool or something. I don't know. Now, I'm not going to do anything weird like I had to do when I was an intern in radio, and I had to drive around in the back of a limo around Dallas and film these people. That was weird. But everything has a price, my friend.
Yes, it does. And the price is right. Just offer us. Make us
Indeed.
an offer.
All right. Find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. Thanks for listening to the Jam Session podcast. Again, you can find us on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. And of course, you can email us if you do have a sponsorship question, jamsessioncast@gmail.com. Director of Creative Content is Brian Hart. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the beginning and end of each episode. He is the radio and TV star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. And I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Please remember, if you would, to subscribe. Tell your friends, subscribe, rate, and review this episode. And we'll catch you next time on the Jam Session podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.